For years, Balmoral has been more than a royal retreat. It has been a symbol of power, legacy, and quiet family battles hidden from public view. But when reports emerged that Lady Louise had inherited a cherished Balmoral Cottage, royal watchers were stunned by one explosive detail. Prince William allegedly stepped in personally, while Queen Camilla was completely shut out. The decision sparked whispers of deepening divisions inside the monarchy. Was this simply about inheritance, or did it reveal a far more troubling struggle for influence unfolding behind palace walls? And do you think Balmoral Cottage was originally willed to Lady Louise? Why did William have to shut Camilla off? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. To help us create more videos and uncover the latest royal drama, please subscribe. Queen Elizabeth's final choice. For much of the world, Queen Elizabeth II appeared almost untouchable. She seemed built entirely from discipline and duty, a woman who wore calmness as naturally as her famous pearls. For more than 70 years, people watched her closely, searching her face for signs of emotion, yet they rarely found more than controlled composure. During moments of crisis, heartbreak, and national sorrow, she remained steady, careful, and restrained. Over time, that emotional control became part of her mystery and power. But perhaps the greatest misunderstanding about Elizabeth was the belief that she did not feel deeply. The truth was far more complicated. She felt pain, grief, joy, disappointment, and loneliness just as intensely as anyone else. The difference was that she had spent a lifetime learning how to hide it. No one concealed emotion more successfully than she did. Inside the royal family, appearances are everything. Every public smile, every carefully chosen word, every small gesture is designed to protect the image of stability surrounding the monarchy. Royals understand a difficult reality. The moment the public sees too much vulnerability, the image of strength begins to weaken. Elizabeth understood this rule better than almost anyone before her, and she followed it with remarkable discipline. Yet beyond the grand ceremonies, polished speeches, and palace walls, there existed another side of her that only a handful of people ever truly knew. Away from cameras and public expectations, she was quieter, softer, and far more human than most people imagined. No place revealed that hidden side more clearly than Balmoral Castle. Balmoral was never just another royal residence. To Elizabeth, it was a refuge, the one place where the crushing weight of the crown seemed to ease from her shoulders. While Buckingham Palace symbolized monarchy, tradition, and responsibility, Balmoral symbolized freedom and peace. There, she laughed more freely, wore simpler clothes, and walked through forests and open fields without the endless pressure of royal performance. In many ways, it was the only place where she could stop being the Queen and simply become Elizabeth. Hidden within that beloved estate stood Craigawwan Lodge, a modest stone cottage that carried some of the deepest emotional memories of her life. To outsiders, it appeared quiet and ordinary, but to Elizabeth, those walls held decades of grief, heartbreak, and private history so painful that even members of the royal family reportedly approached the cottage with unusual caution and respect. Then came the decision that stunned those closest to the crown. Before her death, Elizabeth reportedly chose to leave this deeply personal place not to senior royals, not to powerful heirs, and not even to Queen Camilla. Instead, she entrusted it to Lady Louise Windsor. And with that single quiet decision, tensions inside the royal family reportedly exploded behind closed palace doors. How did the ownership of Balmoral Cottage come to Queen Elizabeth? Is it private property or the monarchy's? Let's talk about the royal fortress that never truly belonged to the crown. A gift beyond walls. When Queen Elizabeth II's will began to unfold, one detail quietly captured attention across the royal world. Tucked within the vast Balmoral estate was a personal cottage that the late monarch chose to leave to Lady Louise Windsor. At first glance, it may have seemed like a simple transfer of property, but within the royal family, nothing is ever just about bricks and mortar. This particular gift carried a meaning far deeper than its walls and windows. Balmoral itself has always been more than a countryside retreat. It was the Queen's sanctuary, the place where she felt most at peace, surrounded by rolling hills, quiet forests, and the steady rhythm of Scottish life. It was where she laughed with her family, walked her dogs, and escaped the constant glare of public duty. To own a piece of Balmoral is to hold a piece of her most private world. And among all those who might have been considered, she chose Lady Louise. Was not part of the grand formal settings used for state visits or official gatherings. Instead, it represented intimacy, simplicity, and family moments away from cameras. By leaving it to Louise, the Queen was doing more than distributing assets. She was extending trust. Lady Louise, known for her quiet nature and grounded upbringing, had always maintained a low profile. She did not chase headlines or seek public attention. In many ways, she embodied the calm and steady qualities that Queen Elizabeth admired. While the monarchy includes many grandchildren and great-grandchildren, as well as senior working royals and even the new Queen Consort, it was Louise who received this deeply personal gift. That choice spoke volumes. In royal life, gestures often carry layers of meaning. Public honors can be symbolic, but private inheritances are deeply personal. To be given property from the Queen's own estate suggests a bond built on affection and confidence. It signals that the recipient is part of an inner circle shaped not by titles alone, but by loyalty and shared values. For observers, the decision raised questions about relationships within the family. Why Louise? What did this choice reveal about the Queen's private feelings? While only the late monarch knew her full reasoning, one thing is clear: such a gift is rarely casual. It reflects warmth, appreciation, and perhaps even a desire to ensure that a trusted granddaughter would always have a place connected to her grandmother's happiest memories. In the end, the cottage at Balmoral stands as more than property. It stands as a symbol of personal regard. In a family defined by duty and tradition, Queen Elizabeth's choice revealed something simpler and more human: her heart. Lady Louise was bestowed Mill House by Queen Elizabeth, a decision that shocked many within the royal circle. But why was the residence not transferred to the current Queen Consort? And what does this reveal about trust and loyalty within the royal family? Let's uncover the details. Prince William's bold move. There is no doubt that Prince William is the apparent heir to the throne, but the thing is that he isn't waiting for the crown to start acting like a king. Although King Charles is still in charge, but William has been quietly making arrangements for the future of the royal family. And recently, he decided to change the royal status of Lady Louise Windsor and James, Earl of Wessex. These two teens were never really in the public eye. For most of their lives, they lived quietly with their parents, Prince Edward and Duchess Sophie. No scandals, no headlines, just school and family outings. But all of a sudden, they've been pulled into a much bigger royal story, and not by choice. It's because William has made it clear his administration will need to slim down the monarchy, meaning that family ties will no longer guarantee a royal title anymore. But that is just the beginning. The full scope of the power play rocking the royal family will shock you. Stay with us. From the moment William took on royal duties, people noticed he wasn't just helping out his father. He was making real moves. He cut down on who appears at royal events, reduced staff, and pushed for fewer people representing the crown. It's part of his plan to make the monarchy feel more modern, more relatable, and honestly, cheaper to run. He wants people to look at the royals and see value. That brings us straight to Louise and James. Under old rules, both of them technically have the right to be called Her Royal Highness and His Royal Highness. Their father, Prince Edward, is the king's younger brother. That would normally mean they're full royals. But William doesn't see things that way. In his view, titles are earned, not just inherited. And he doesn't want two more working royals on the books unless they're needed. So what's he doing? Prince William is taking steps to block any move to give them those full titles. He's not making a big public statement about it. The message is being sent through actions, not words. There's no announcement, no official handover. But insiders say William has told his team to keep the working royal circle small, even after he becomes king. This kind of move might sound simple, but inside Buckingham Palace, it's shaking things up. There's a strong tradition of honoring family lines, even when some members don't take on big public roles. But William sees that as old thinking. He doesn't want to repeat the mistakes of the past, where too many royals were paid or supported by the public but didn't do much in return. And for William, there's something else at play, which is public trust. Remember that over the past few years, royal scandals have made headlines. For instance, Prince Andrew's downfall, Harry and Meghan stepping away, and even criticism over how money is spent. William wants to show the public that he gets it, that he understands this is a new era, and people want change. So he's making that change, one step at a time. Now, with William's latest development, Lady Louise and James are in an awkward spot. They've done nothing wrong. They've followed the rules, stayed out of drama, and even helped out at events here and there. But now they're being used as an example, a quiet way for William to draw a line and say, this is where the royal circle ends. However, it doesn't end there. Some people in the palace are not happy with William's plan for the monarchy. According to royal insiders, some say William is moving too fast, that he's shutting out young royals who could be helpful in the future. But William doesn't seem too worried about that. He sees the future monarchy as tight and focused, not 15 royals on the balcony waving, not cousins and second cousins with titles and duties. Just a small, hard-working group that the public connects with. Amidst disapproval, some praise William for being forward-thinking, while others feel a bit sad for Louise and James, who now face a future that's kind of uncertain. The trending question about them is, will they be royals in name only? Will they ever take on duties? Or will they just be private citizens with royal blood? Keep watching, because we are about to reveal something shocking about the royal family. Right now, it looks like William wants to steer them toward private lives. He doesn't want them dragged into the public role unless necessary. And that means no royal titles, no big announcements, just a quiet shift in status that says a lot about the kind of king William plans to be. And to be honest, Lady Louise Windsor and James were never the kinds of royals that sought public attention, and that's what we're looking at next. Lady Louise's rejection and the weight on James. Lady Louise Windsor, the elder sister of James, has become one of the most captivating figures in the royal family's quiet drama. She represents a striking contrast in the story of duty, choice, and identity. When she turned 18, she had the full right to style herself as Her Royal Highness Princess Louise. With just that single decision, she could have stepped into the dazzling but demanding world of royalty. That title alone would have opened doors to influence, privilege, and a lifetime of public recognition. Yet, in a move that surprised many, Louise gently turned her back on the opportunity. Instead of embracing the crown, she chose to remain known simply as Lady Louise Windsor, free from the expectations of monarchy. Currently, she is studying English at the prestigious University of St. Andrews in Scotland, the same institution that once nurtured the romance between Prince William and Catherine Middleton.
Okay, no, this one I think should be fine. I did get a bit emotional when I sang it in there, because it's just like an unbelievable venue.
But rather than being swept into royal tradition, Louise has voiced her interest in exploring careers far beyond the palace gates, fields such as the military, diplomacy, or even law. These are not just career options. They are statements of intent. They show her determination to live as her own person, unchained by royal titles. For Prince William, however, her refusal carried a sting of disappointment. With the monarchy under increasing pressure to modernize and remain relevant, he had hoped that Louise, with her intelligence, charm, and natural grace, might have stepped onto the royal front line. Her presence could have lightened the load on senior royals and symbolized a new, relatable face of the crown. But Louise's decision firmly closed that door. And here lies the ripple effect. By stepping back, Louise has inadvertently shifted the weight of expectation onto her younger brother, James. Without her to share the spotlight or responsibilities, James is no longer merely the quiet second child of Edward and Sophie. Instead, he has suddenly become the monarchy's next great hope, the young royal who might carry the torch forward. If Louise had chosen differently, James might have been free to fade into the background, to enjoy a life largely shielded from the constant gaze of the public and the press. But her independence has forced circumstances into his lap. Now, the decisions James makes are no longer just personal. They are deeply symbolic. Will he accept the call to royal duty? Or will he, like his sister, quietly retreat into a private life of choice and freedom? Let's dig briefly into the details of the two roads before James. Camilla completely excluded. One of the most talked about details in this inheritance was not only who received the gift, but who did not. Missing from this deeply personal gesture was Queen Camilla, the current queen consort. As the wife of the reigning monarch and a senior figure within the royal household, Camilla holds an important public position. She has access to grand residences, historic estates, and the privileges that come with her role. Yet when it came to this private cottage, her name was not included. At first glance, that absence may seem surprising. After all, Camilla now stands beside the king at the center of royal life. However, a will is not a public ceremony or a political statement. It is a deeply personal document. It reflects private emotions, individual memories, and the quiet bonds formed away from cameras and official duties. In this case, Queen Elizabeth's decision appeared to be guided less by rank and more by personal connection. Throughout her reign, Elizabeth was known for her strong sense of duty. She respected tradition and understood the weight of the crown. But she was also a grandmother, a mother, and a woman with her own feelings and preferences. When deciding how to distribute her personal property, she was not required to follow the royal hierarchy. Instead, she had the freedom to act according to her heart. Royal insiders often say that private inheritances reveal truths that public appearances cannot. On balconies and at state banquets, the royal family stands united. Smiles are shared, hands are waved, and unity is displayed for the world to see. Behind closed doors, however, relationships are more complex. Affection, trust, shared experiences, and personal history shape bonds in ways that the public rarely witnesses. The fact that Camilla was not included in this particular bequest does not strip her of status or authority. She remains queen consort with all the recognition that title carries. Yet this moment highlights an important distinction between official role and personal closeness. A title may define one's place in the institution, but it does not automatically guarantee a place in someone's private affections. In royal families, as in any family, loyalty is remembered. Shared moments matter. Quiet support, consistency, and trust often leave lasting impressions. The Queen's will, in its quiet way, seemed to underline these truths. It suggested that when it came to her most personal spaces and cherished properties, she chose to honor those she felt closest to on a deeply human level. In the end, the absence of Camilla's name from this inheritance says less about protocol and more about personality. It offers a rare glimpse behind palace walls, where decisions are shaped not only by crowns and ceremonies, but by emotion, memory, and the bonds that truly endure. Beyond Camilla being sidelined from the Queen's inheritance, an important question remains. Why did the Queen treasure Lady Louise so deeply? And what sparked the strong affection between Lady Louise and her grandmother? Now, let's explore a grandmother's quiet devotion. A special bond. Among Queen Elizabeth II's many grandchildren, Lady Louise Windsor held a place that was quietly special. As the second youngest grandchild, Louise grew up at a time when the Queen was already a seasoned monarch and a more relaxed grandmother. By then, Elizabeth had experienced decades on the throne, countless public duties, and the joys and trials of a large family. With Louise, her relationship felt softer, more personal, and deeply affectionate. From the very start, Louise's life was not without challenges. She was born prematurely and faced health difficulties in her early years, including a condition affecting her eyesight that required careful medical attention. For any grandparent, seeing a young child struggle can create a powerful bond of protectiveness and tenderness. For the Queen and Prince Philip, Those early concerns seem to have drawn them even closer to their young granddaughter. She was not simply another member of the royal line. She was a child they worried about, prayed for, and quietly cherished. Louise was also younger than many of her cousins, which naturally shaped her place within the family. While the older grandchildren were stepping into public roles and growing up under brighter media attention, Louise's childhood unfolded more gently. This age gap may have allowed the Queen to spend more focused time with her, especially during family gatherings at Balmoral and Windsor. In those private settings, away from cameras and official ceremonies, a different kind of relationship could flourish. Unlike the grand pageantry of state events, the bond between the Queen and Louise was built on small, meaningful moments. It was seen in shared smiles, quiet conversations, and simple family traditions. Prince Philip, known for his love of carriage driving, famously passed that passion on to Louise. The Queen watched with pride as her granddaughter embraced the hobby with dedication and skill. These shared interests and family rituals strengthened the sense of closeness between them. What made this relationship stand out was that it went beyond formal duty. The Queen was not acting as a monarch when she showed affection to Louise. She was acting as a grandmother. Her care was genuine and personal. She valued Louise's calm nature, modesty, and thoughtful character. In a family often surrounded by intense public scrutiny, Louise's quiet strength may have felt especially reassuring. This deep connection offers insight into why Louise later received such a meaningful gift from the Queen's private estate. The inheritance was not simply a matter of distribution. It was a reflection of a bond formed through years of shared experience and heartfelt affection. In choosing Louise, the Queen seemed to honor not just a granddaughter, but a relationship rooted in love, concern, and unwavering family devotion. At the beginning of Louise's life, she faced significant health challenges, which led the Queen to give her special attention, a favor that extended to the gift of a cottage at Balmoral Castle. But what does Balmoral Castle really look like? And what is the value of this extraordinary gift? Let's find out. A crown under pressure. To truly understand why James's decision carries such enormous weight, we must first step back and examine the current state of the royal family. When King Charles III ascended the throne in 2022, he made no secret of his vision. He wanted a smaller, more efficient monarchy, one that was modern, less expensive, and more relatable to the people.
And for things like that, sovereign risks, which so many companies and investors find difficult to deal with.
The idea was to strip away excess, cut costs, and focus on a handful of royals who could embody duty with dignity. It sounded like a noble plan, but the reality has proved far more complicated. The slimmed-down monarchy may have looked neat on paper, yet in practice it has been stretched to its limits. Senior royals have either stepped away or been forced out. Scandals have shaken public trust, and health issues have robbed the institution of its strongest pillars. Prince Andrew's fall from grace after damaging controversies left a permanent hole. Prince Harry and Meghan's dramatic departure tore away another vital layer of support. Even the unwavering Princess Anne, famed for her tireless work ethic, cannot possibly keep pace with the endless stream of duties and demands. The cracks are beginning to show. Royal engagements are stacking up at a dizzying rate. Charities are pleading for royal patrons to keep their causes in the spotlight. The public still expects the monarchy to be visible and active, but there are simply not enough hands to share the load. What once seemed like a sleek, modern monarchy now looks fragile and perhaps even unsustainable. This is where Prince William steps into focus. As heir to the throne, William cannot ignore the challenges pressing down on his family's institution. Unlike his father, he seems to grasp the urgency of bringing in fresh reinforcements. Without new blood, the risk of burnout or collapse becomes dangerously real. And so, William's gaze turns naturally toward the younger royals, who have so far lived quieter lives away from the constant public eye. Lady Louise Windsor and her younger brother, James, Earl of Wessex. Their parents, Prince Edward and Sophie, have long been the monarchy's unsung heroes. They work diligently, step in during crises, and have managed to avoid the scandals that have tainted so many others. Dependable, modest, and deeply loyal, They represent exactly the kind of stability the crown so desperately needs. If their children chose to follow in their footsteps, they could breathe new life into the monarchy's worn-out image. But the options are already narrowing. Lady Louise has signaled her wish to chart her own independent course, stepping away from royal duties to live on her own terms. That leaves James. Still only a teenager, he suddenly finds himself at a crossroads that could shape not just his own future, but the fate of the monarchy itself. The crown's need for him has never been greater, and the decision he makes may carry consequences far beyond anything he imagined. Could Lady Louise's rejection have any impact on James's decision? Would it be easy for James to turn down the monarchy's request? Let's delve into the details of the effect Louise's rejection might have on James. Lady Louise Windsor and James. Right from the day Lady Louise Windsor and James, Earl of Wessex, were born, they have royal blood, not by title. Their parents, Prince Edward and Duchess Sophie, made a very specific choice. They wanted their children to grow up without the weight of royal status hanging over them, and for the most part, it worked. Compared to other royals, Louise and James didn't live in palaces or get flashy media attention. They grew up in a countryside home in Bagshot Park, surrounded by school, horseback riding, and weekend trips. They weren't paraded at royal events or given headlines like their cousins, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, or even Prince Harry. The scariest thing about these royals was that most people didn't know what they looked like until they were teens. It was not a coincidence at all. It was part of Sophie's plan for her children. Recently, during an interview, Sophie made it known to the media that her children
I hope to be able to see the baby sometime soon, but no plans as yet.
Have titles if they choose to use them, but they are bringing them up with the expectation that they will most likely have to work for a living. That one quote said everything. Sophie and Edward didn't want their kids raised as working royals. They wanted them to live real lives, with real jobs, without the spotlight. Louise especially stayed under the radar, even though she occasionally appeared at family events, like walking behind Queen Elizabeth's coffin during the funeral procession, but she kept her life private. In 2021, when she turned 18, she was finally given the choice to start using the title Her Royal Highness Princess Louise of Edinburgh, but her response will shock you. Although there was no grand statement, just a decision made in private, confirming she wanted to keep the low-profile life her parents gave her. People respected that. It showed maturity. Remember, Louise had grown up close to the Queen, even sharing a love of horses and carriage driving with her. But when it came time to decide, she stepped away from royal life, not toward it. Now that you already know Lady Louise's stand, we are sure you'd be wondering about James. Well, James hasn't faced that moment yet, but it's coming. At some point, likely when he turns 18, he'll be asked the same question. Does he want the title? Will he become a prince and start stepping into the public role that comes with it? Right now, no one knows what he'll choose. He's kept an even lower profile than Louise. He rarely speaks publicly and is only seen during major royal events. But his future is already being discussed in royal circles, especially now that Prince William is tightening the royal circle. That makes James's decision even more complicated. The public, though, seems to love the way these two were raised. A lot of people say it's refreshing to see royal kids growing up more like regular teenagers. No royal drama, no huge headlines, just a calm, private life. It's a big contrast to the media chaos that has followed Prince Harry, Meghan, or even the young Cambridges. But here's the tricky part that will shock you. Turning down a title doesn't just mean staying out of the spotlight. It also means saying no to royal funding.
The royal family is funded by three main revenue streams.
If Louise or James were to step into full royal roles, they'd be expected to do public duties, appear at events, and become full-time working royals. That would come with security, media attention, and yes, money. But it also means losing your privacy. And that's a big trade-off. Duchess Sophie made it clear early on that she and Edward didn't want their kids growing up feeling entitled. They didn't want the crown to be a safety net. That's why they gave them the chance to decide for themselves, rather than forcing them into royal life. Even without Her Royal Highness in front of their names, Louise and James are still part of the royal family. They'll always be in the public eye to some extent. And now that Prince William is stepping up and making changes behind the scenes, it puts even more pressure on them, especially James. Will he follow in his sister's footsteps, or will he take a different path? What's also worth noting is how rare this situation is. Most royals don't get the chance to choose. Titles are usually automatic, passed down from birth. But Louise and James are part of a newer, quieter wave of royal kids who grew up knowing that the world was changing and that the royal family had to change with it. Louise has already made her choice. James is next, and depending on what he decides, it could say a lot about how younger royals view their place in today's world. We've seen how Prince William is trying to modernize the monarchy. Now we're seeing how that vision is playing out in real time, with two young royals caught right in the middle. And while they may not be front-page news every day, their next steps could quietly shape the future of the royal family. It's a bold move, and one that shows William isn't afraid to challenge tradition. He's thinking years ahead, not just about the current situation. And as we look deeper into how this affects Louise and James, it also opens up questions about what kind of lives they'll lead now. Will they accept this quietly? Will their parents push back? Or will they surprise everyone and take on new paths on their own?